Journey Theater, everyone. Seeing some familiar faces, if you can find your seats. We're jumping into our next presentation here, and it's gonna be a pretty cool one. I think you're all familiar with this logo. It's Facebook, some of the best platforms and greatest platforms that you use out there. The title of our presentation today is Like and Share. Guess what I'm gonna ask you to do? Get your phones out, take some photos of these presenters up there. They are not shy. They'll be up here in a second. But asking you to take some photos, like and share. You can put it on LinkedIn. No, it's not on the Facebook umbrella, but that's the platform most of us are on. But asking you to get social with this one, because you're gonna see how Facebook has set up their automation program for scale. You'll see how their intelligent automation program has been organized and some of their critical advice for setting up your own programs. So really hope you guys get the most out of this one. And I'll welcome to the stage Ahmed, coming in from Accelerate. He's their Chief Automation Officer at Accelerate. He asked me not to introduce him as the Executive Officer. Come on the stage, Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Ben. It's great to see the progression of UiPath as a company. We partnered with them when they were 3 people here in the US. In fact, we partnered with them when they had 0 people in the US. We partnered with them when their partner program was in Romania. And it's great to see 2,000 people here. We're a Diamond partner now. It's great to be invited up here. I'm joined by Joe Bonnert at Facebook. He manages the Intelligent Automation program. We've been a partner with them. Joe, come on up. So we met Joe in 2019, summer. I'm glad we weren't in Chicago in November, as Samir said. It was nice and sunny and it was warm. They were just starting their automation program. It was an exciting opportunity for us, to say the least. It was Facebook. Hey, you know, you can't get better than that. So we were very excited about it. But let's talk to Joe. Joe, tell us about your program.
Absolutely. Ahmed, it's funny, is getting started can be the hardest part, right? So hi everyone. I'm Joe Bonnert. Nice to be here. So how did we get started with Facebook? What we found with this technology is we had to be really purposeful and intentful with what we did. And coming off of a POC in early 2019, we recognized a lot of demand and interest in what RPA could do. And as we wrapped resourcing around this, we have to solve 2 really big questions. How does this technology fit at a company with an extremely strong engineering culture that likes to build their own? And 2, what problems should we be solving with this technology? And in true Facebook fashion, we said we need to wrap an XFN team around this problem to determine what does RPA mean at Facebook and how do we move forward. And so in Q2 of 2019, leveraging that momentum from our POC, we mobilized a team of finance, other business functions interested in the technology, security, engineering from a product and infrastructure standpoint, internal audit, sourcing. If we thought we needed you to be a part of this, you were there. And so bringing that team together, we really quickly moved fast to say, we need to go and evaluate the market and the technology. We started an RFP. I think you can take a guess at who won, given that I'm here. But we were extremely impressed with UiPath's capabilities, not only from a product standpoint, but also being able to meet our needs to get a third-party tool into our stack. After we made that decision and we knew UiPath would work on an enterprise scale within our world, we had a little bit of time on our hands until we could really get starting building, but that really gave us some space. And in Q4 of 19, this was really important work that we took on to go and evaluate and formalize the COE and our operating model. And so we think about the partners that we brought together in the beginning of this journey to be able to go and do this work. A lot of these partners became key players in this operating model, and others became strong cross-functional partners to help us as we were to progress and get to production. So you can see the 3 key players that we brought to the table to form this virtual COE, our finance transformation, our enterprise products team that drive the product org for that, our internal tools, and then we also had an enterprise product team for infrastructure to help us maintain the stack. And you can see as a part of this evaluation that we did with the UiPath services team that we were able to really define a strong ownership of each phase of the operating model and roles and responsibilities that would give us table stakes in a way that we were going to run our program on day 1 before we had an automation that we could go build. And so you can see from a business perspective in finance transformation, we own intake and prioritization through solution design. And then we let our engineers be engineers. We let them build, test, and release and bring the best of the table that they can to help us deliver UiPath at a high level. And then lastly, we have this infrastructure team in place because at the end of the day, we're dealing with technology, and we need them to own our stack, maintain for the infrastructure report, help the technology enablement, and then also maintain this new credential we have in our environment that runs these solutions. So the COE is a virtual center of excellence that we created, and we design, develop, and support intelligent automation solutions for finance, but we're also enabling other business functions in Facebook to leverage this incredible technology. So as we move into 2020, really excited we got our hands on the software, and literally we got the license the week before COVID hit. And so we implemented our stack within 30 days, and then moving into Q2 of 20, we deployed our first bot within 60 days of having the software. This move fast mentality we're really proud of, because given the circumstances we were in, we knew this was an important imperative for us to keep pushing forward on. As we moved after our first high five on the first spot, we expanded our delivery teams, built our capabilities. How do we go from managing a few projects to managing roadmaps? How do we put that together in a way that we can grow those muscles so this is something that we can scale and move forward? And so we took those deliveries and said, okay, we delivered 4, now let's ramp and go deliver 10, and really build out our muscles to manage these capabilities in teams. And obviously Ahmed's here, as we've obviously been leveraging Accelerate as a fantastic partner to help us get started in order to bring these solutions to life. In addition to some of the, I call the program delivery work, we're also foundation investing at the same time. So in the second half of last year, we implemented what we call our digital employee ID. We worked with our identity and access management partners to define what is this credential that we need in order to enable this technology and to do it in a way that's going to be safe, secure, and controlled. And this is really important work. As anyone that's done this in any way, shape, or form, you get a lot of interesting questions on what are you doing with a service account and how does that work? And we're really proud of this output here, where we can actually have this new class of identity on our network that we know is used for RPA. And that has gotten us a long way with our security partners in understanding how do we control what this does. So where we're going from here in 2021, we are standing up global service delivery capabilities as we've obviously partnered with Accelerate, and we've also expanded within the partner network as well. As we look into 2022, we're excited to scale. And we think that really, as we engage additional business partners and how we move forward, the sky is going to be the limit in what we do with UiPath. So if we summarize what our impact is in terms of what we've done to date and through these activities, we have 30 solutions in production today. And those solutions have saved about 10,000 hours of year program to date, so since March of last year. And we're really proud to say that our current solutions will roughly save us 13,000 hours annually going forward based on what we have in production. So it's a really strong story for us to show that this annuity is going to keep growing. In addition to the financial or the productivity savings, which are great, I like to really focus in on these secondary benefits that we're seeing because of the automation solutions being in production. So the first thing we're seeing is improved work quality. And what do I mean by improved work quality? We had many people within our organizations that may be operating below their license or not necessarily leveraging the best of their abilities because we have extremely smart resources. With the power of RPA, we've unlocked the preparing, doing, and now we're getting more to thinking. And these activities that, where they dreaded doing every month or every day, they're now being replaced with other activities that are higher value to the organization. Secondly, we're seeing reduced risk. And the way we're seeing that is our teams aren't spending time preparing things anymore. They're analyzing the results. They're finding the exceptions. They're understanding what those means and how do we drive actionable insights on that. And it's a very powerful tool in terms of being able to understand what is your data and what do I need to do. So those are really great secondary benefits that don't necessarily translate into these hours saved, but we know they're out there and they're extremely important to what we're doing. I've touched on the new digital workforce, foundational, very important. But the thing we're proud of the work you see in this journey is we've built what we call a frictionless entry point into RPA at Facebook. We are a central enablement function to be able to help these other business units adopt this technology. So that's where we're at in terms of how we got started and where we're at.
Oh, that's great. Look, I think you've touched upon a few different things that you did up front, and I remember when I think we had flights booked to Austin, and all the restrictions hit, and we're trying to figure out how we get into the office and all that good stuff. So I think you have some certain things that you did that drove your success, right? I know what those are. Why don't you tell the audience what those are, and then we'll talk about what I think are the important ones and how that played into the scale.
Absolutely. Well, myself and my leadership team were all fortunate enough that this is the second RPA program that we started in our careers. And so I think we all could say we've learned quite a bit from our first go and have a few bruises or war stories that can certainly fall in each one of these buckets. But we're definitely proud of our success and accomplishments, and we definitely want to share some of those best practices and lessons we learned. So I'll touch on number one. I'm not going to go too far because I think I've heard this in every talk today or over the past few days, but engage IT. You're going to need their help early. At the end of the day, this is technology. There is infrastructure. There are needs. And if they don't know what you want, where you're going, and what the objectives are, they can't plan to support you when you need it. Bring them to the table, as well as everyone else I told you earlier. Number two here is define intake and prioritization early. What's your decision-making framework? I mentioned we had to solve for what RPA solves for at Facebook. We have a lot of talented engineers. Qualifying what RPA is going to target allows you to understand how you engage your business and route use cases that you shouldn't be targeting to the right people. This is a key trust factor we've built with our engineering partners to allow us to move fast and to get them comfortable of using a third-party product in our unique environment. Number three is definitely important and near to dear to my heart. Leverage partners to get started. I have attempted to grow my own resources in this space. It can be a long and hard journey, but a partner can be there to help you get started and move fast early. And I really believe that the partnership network is a really under-leveraged resource in this space in terms of how you can take your RPA initiatives to the next level. Explore them, understand who's going to fit and meet your needs, who's going to fit your culture and help you achieve your objectives. Partners are key if you want to go fast early.
Thank you. Go ahead. Keep
Number
going.
four here, you may have mentioned, you see how I explained this in the journey slide, is we're really big on what we call our crawl, walk, run strategy. This was an important tool for us in the beginning. In order to control our narrative and be able to tell our story across the Facebook landscape. And with this phased and disciplined approach, we are able to describe what needs to happen in each phase, what does success look like, and what are the toll gates that we're going to go through before we know we're ready for walk, before we're ready for run. This allowed us to set expectations with our stakeholders and really control the messaging and the pacing and how we move forward. I'm a big proponent that this is one of the key things that we've done, just in the sense of we controlled our own story and we never let go of the pen. And I think that's really important if you want to think about how do you tell your story. Number five is use the right tool for the job. And what I mean by this is RPA is a powerful tool, but it shouldn't be looked at to solve for everything. Make sure RPA is being used to solve the right problem, and don't make it a hammer going around looking for the nail within your organization. It's not always going to drive the right outcome. And then lastly, this is a bit softer, but something that's also near and dear to my heart, is do not overlook change management. You have to meet people where they're at and bring them to where they're going. And with change management and the way we look at this, we can impact one person's life with an RPA solution. We can impact 500 people with something we release. How do we tailor our release strategies to meet those needs and to make sure that these solutions will be adopted? No one wants to build something and put it on a shelf. Don't overlook change management.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. I think he mentioned partners and the legwork that you did ahead of time. I think it was important for us. We were like, oh, it's Facebook, it's great. Like everybody wants to jump in and start developing those 5 processes that you think you have, and we're going to start to open up Studio and go in there. I think we must have spent about 2 months before we even started the engagement. It's really important what Joe mentioned, right? Engage IT is critical. We've seen that organizations, especially the ones that have the engineering culture that you have, all of a sudden IT is like, we're trying to solve the same problems. Why new technology? Why this? And it's important. Once that's done and you've made the case that yes, this is legit and works and it can deliver value, the next question is, oh well, by the way, I have DevOps procedures. You have the digital worker. I have great stories around digital worker IDs, right? I have DevOps, I have security, I have audit, I have compliance, I have all these things that need to happen. Security is going, I've spent my life trying to get bots out of my network, and you want to bring them inside. And they don't realize what it is that you're trying to do. I think what for us, it was really important to get that out of the way right off the bat, right? Get them comfortable that we understand those concerns and that we're aligned with them. So I think that becomes very important, and especially hearing with partners, if you've done it before, you know it. If you haven't, you just don't. You will find out later, and it will happen, and somebody will ask you, why do you need this service account to have UI access? It will happen. So you have to do that legwork up front, and I think that was something important that we did. Knowing Facebook's engineering culture, we had to make sure that the resources that we had were aligned to that culture and were able to speak both languages, right? So on one end, you have the process analysts who are going to be talking to finance and engineering, and again, at a culture of excellence, you just don't have that luxury of saying, hey, listen, I'll figure it out. So that's really important. But I think the other important part for us was that security and audit culture, the strong security and audit culture that Facebook has. It was important to embed those into our design and methodologies, right, to make sure that, that we're aligned with that. We also have our delivery methodology. It's designed to go fast. It's designed to, really exploit the time to value proposition of RPA. Anything can be automated given enough time and money. That's my favorite pet phrase. It's making sure that you keep that time to value proposition in place while making sure that you stay true to the guidelines and the security and the compliance and the change management procedures so that you don't run afoul of that. They're there for a reason. Don't create more technical debt, make sure it's supportable, all of that good stuff. So we had to make sure that we had that aligned with what Joe and his team had put in place. So I think these were a few things for us as a partner to keep in mind, and I think it really comes from the experience, right? Having done it before, I have stories about people asking compliance, saying, hey, this idea over here has not taken their compliance training, why not? And then the head of automation is going, this is a robot. It's going, I don't care. My compliance report says red, this goes to the regulators, fix it, right? So, and they ended up doing the same thing. I think we had this conversation in August 2019. I was like, hey, listen, they ended up all the way up to the HR, and they ended up creating another class of worker, which is a digital worker, got that thing done. And those are the type of things that I think when Joe mentions pick the right partner and leverage them, I think that's really what you're looking for is, hey, what are the pitfalls that I don't see? I think all of you are in the enterprise or technologists or business professionals who know how to build the capability, the people, process, technology. That stuff is general. It's like ask specific questions. Where are the pitfalls? What haven't I seen? This is what I'm thinking. What should I be thinking about? I think that's important.
Excellent.
What's next?
Glad you asked. So in terms of what next, I break this into 3 pieces for us. One is definitely on a product and an RPA perspective. How do we federate this? How do we get the demand out there? How do we get this into the other operations? The demand is there, and we're ready to be an enablement function, and we're looking forward to that. So they see RPA has an exponential growth because we can get it into other teams' hands to drive their agendas forward. The second item is more of a capability than it is around technology. And it's how do you wrap the right skill sets around this technology and be able to really unwind use cases in a way that either we're going to enable RPA very well, or given my strong engineering culture and our desire to build, that I can describe these use cases and how this data works at a process level. If I can get that in engineers' hands, they can do some very powerful things in our world. And if they can't do it, I also have really great requirements to go build some RPA solutions, so it's not a bad situation either. But I'm really bullish on this capabilities piece because these are the things, if you do them well in your requirements processes with RPA, you know what you're going to get when you go to build. What I've found is if you don't take the time to unwind transactional processes down to what I call what flavors there are within that, and understand what the rules that are driving that, and if you can automate it, you're not probably setting yourself up for longer term RPA success. And in my case, I have the ability to maybe go put it in a different channel. So that's the second piece. The third piece here is, given the engineering talent that we do have at Facebook, how do I engage those advanced data science, applied research, and data engineering teams to help us think about how we contextualize business problems for our stakeholders and get their services ingrained into either the products that we build, or perhaps find a home for their models within the UiPath world where we can give them a home and help them drive value. And so when I look at where we're going, it's really a technology play to make sure we can expand what we're doing, an investment in the people we have doing this work and making sure we're doing it in a way that's driving value, and then in a partnering approach on how do we bring all the best of Facebook has to offer in this program to be able to drive very, very impactful results and consistent outcomes. So when I think about how we're going, it's going to be an exciting time. We got a lot going on in this space, and there's certainly no shortage of work.
We're glad to hear that. No, I think that's exciting. We're in an exciting time. I think we'll continue to see growth. Thank you so much for being a great customer. Thank you so much to my team over here, and thank you so much to UiPath for having us over here. It's been a great time, and hopefully tonight we win some money.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
So I asked you all to like and share going into that one, but not sure you're going to be able to top the sharing that group just did. That was a masterclass in sharing. They really opened up the playbook on how Facebook is organized to embrace automation at scale. And we like their 6 tips for success. So appreciate you all tuning in to see that. And brings to conclusion a lot of the highlights that we're doing here on the Journey Theater. Some of my favorite logos. We heard from Amazon yesterday, Uber and Pandora yesterday. That was Facebook. I just picked some of my favorite apps. So I was really glad to share some of the great stories that we're seeing from those brands. And turning to our next section here in the Journey Theater, it's all about tops down. You hear a lot about bottoms up investment, tops down investment. We've got a great stream of 2 presentations coming up. We're going to hear from leading CIOs coming up right next in a great panel. And then following that, you'll hear from a leading CFO and how they've organized their presentations. So don't go far. We're back on stage in 5 minutes for an excellent CIO panel. Thanks, everyone.